first round, we will be talking about characters, and most importantly, the main heroes of the story. First up, we have 9-year-old Ralphie Parker, a boy who wishes nothing more for Christmas than for his parents to gift him his very own Red Ryder BB gun. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let's talk about Ralphie as a character. Ralphie is a believable kid who gets in fights, gets in some trouble here and there, and is kind of a brat sometimes. But let's be honest, that's most of us at 9 years old. Now, as far as the Polar Express, the main boy in the story is named Hero Boy, aka Chris, upon further research I have discovered. Anyway, Hero Boy, aka Chris, seems to be a young boy struggling with his beliefs and hoping to understand the meaning of Christmas and help him to redevelop his faith in Santa. Now, one of my biggest issues with the Hero Boy, or Chris, is his lack of personality and or character. Yes, he is around the same age as Ralphie, being 9 or 10 years old, but he seems quiet, standoffish, and somewhat bland. And I know what you're going to say. Yes, some kids can be standoffish and quiet at that or any age. However, this is a character we're supposed to be interested in and root for throughout the story. But in my opinion, this kid is just plain bland, and often has me reminding myself of this being his story. The lack of personality and character really puts me off. So with that said, the first point goes to A Christmas Story. Now yes, these are two completely different stories. One being about a boy who is whisked off to the North Pole by a magical train to reignite his faith in Santa, versus a simple story about a boy wanting a gun for Christmas and ultimately getting his wish. However, as far as stories, they both have some things in common. Both stories revolve around kids whose wishes come true at Christmas time, and both have an adventure leading up to their wishes being granted. As far as stories though, I rather enjoy A Christmas Story a bit more, mainly just because it's simple, and I've always kind of appreciated stories that can be simple and still entertain me. Whereas The Polar Express is an action adventure with twists and turns and tickets getting lost, then found seconds later for no reason. But aside from all that, The Polar Express just seems unsure what kind of tone it wants to go for as a movie, or a story in general. Now I know that The Polar Express was based on a shorter children's book of the same name and then adapted into a movie, but still my complaints still stand. Just because your movie was made from a book doesn't give you any reason not to keep true to what you're trying to tell as a story. Basically, I just feel like The Polar Express had way too much going on for a movie that could have been, if done a little differently, a bit better. However, it is some people's favorite Christmas movie of them all. But this is just my opinion, remember, and with all that said, A Christmas Story wins over another round. Now on to our next round, where we'll be diving into the real backbone of the classic Christmas tale. Who has the better jolly old Saint Nick? As far as Santa Clauses go, we have a very limited selection of any memorable Santas in movies. I mean, aside from the jerk Santa in Rudolph and the nice Santa from Year Without a Santa Claus, we don't have much to choose from. However, in A Christmas Story, as much as I myself dislike the Santa, he is more iconic. However, neither of the Santas in these films gets a lot of screen time, honestly. I mean, in The Polar Express, Santa comes in and gives Chris his belt and then is gone in a flash, whereas the Santa in A Christmas Story is there for a bit, then shoves some kids down a slide, and on goes the story. But as far as likability and reflection of Christmas spirit, I'd have to go with The Polar Express. I mean, at least that Santa screams Christmas spirit, and at least looks like a somewhat decent guy, whereas the Santa in A Christmas Story hates his job and seems to dislike children. Thus, this round goes to The Polar Express. Important factor in telling a Christmas tale is that the message you're trying to tell the audience comes through clearly. And as far as The Polar Express, although I do love the message of you're never too old to believe in magic, Christmas, and even Santa Claus, but one of the problems I have most with this movie is how the movie goes about telling us this message. It basically shoves it in our faces, telling us you have to believe, or you're a doubter, and that's not okay. But unlike A Christmas Story, whose only message to the audience is don't lick flagpoles, I guess. My only doubt about giving this one to The Polar Express is, like I said before, I really do like the message, just maybe not the way that they tried to get the message across to the audience. So, to that end, another point goes to A Christmas Story. And for our last round, as we all know, no story is complete without the perfect ending, and that's where round 5 comes in. With the Polar Express, our ending is full of narration, a heartwarming message, and a beautiful melody to tie it all together, giving you all the chills of a good ending. The ending of the Polar Express leaves us, the audience, with a message that is really beautiful as well as a wonderful melody to end off with. I don't know about you, but every time I hear Tom Hanks' narration over that last scene, I just get the chills. Whereas Christmas Story kind of ends somewhat similar with nice music and a nice ending narration, I just feel that it's lacking in its build-up. Maybe that's just me. Not to say that I don't value or appreciate a simple and calming ending, but I just feel like this ending was kind of sudden and without much else to leave us, the audience, with. So in the case of the better ending, I'd say the Polar Express takes the cake. Point goes to the Polar Express.